Good morning, dear colleagues, dear friends. Please take your seats. I call the meeting of the General Committee on Economic Affairs, Science, Technology, and Environment to order. Delegates are kindly requested to keep their headsets away from open microphones. Headsets placed too close to active microphones can cause high-pitch audio feedback, which is disruptive to interpreters and participants. Dear colleagues, the agenda for this meeting has been distributed. Could I please invite you to adopt the agenda? Are there any objections? I don't see any objections, so the agenda is adopted. Thank you. I now start with my remark as chair of the committee. Dear colleagues, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the first meeting of the General Committee on Economic Affairs, Science, Technology, and Environment within the framework of this year's annual session. We meet at a time of profound uncertainty and accelerating change. At the OECD region and beyond, we are witnessing a convergence of crises that is reshaping the foundations of international stability. The war in Ukraine remains the largest sustained attack on the European security order since the Second World War, with daily strikes on civilian infrastructure, systematic destruction of energy systems, and the far-reaching consequences for food security, environmental conditions, and reconstruction efforts. At the same time, ongoing stability in the Middle East, particularly in and around the Strait of Hormuz, demonstrates how regional conflicts can rapidly generate wider economic, humanitarian, and security consequences for energy markets, global supply chains, and food security. These developments remind us that the safeguarding resilient connectivity corridors, uninterrupted supply chains, secure maritime routes, and reliable energy flows remains essential for international economic security, sustainable development, and regional stability. We are also experiencing a new reality of economic fragmentation. Trade disruptions, the growing use of tariffs, export controls on critical technologies, and the increasing weaponization of interdependence are challenging long-standing assumptions about globalization and economic cooperation. Climate change is a lived reality. The summer's extreme heat waves across Europe, with temperature exceeding 40 degrees Celsius in several regions already in June, have strained health systems, infrastructure, agriculture, and energy demand, while causing tragic loss of hundreds of lives. Alongside these pressures, unprecedented technological transformation is reshaping our societies at their core. Artificial intelligence is reshaping economies, labor markets, and the public institutions, while the digital environment is raising profound societal and security concerns. The rise of AI-driven disinformation, cyber risks, and exposure of young people to harmful online environments further underscore the need for stronger safeguards, effective regulation, and responsible governance. Taken together, these developments represent a structural shift in which security, economic technology, and the climate are becoming inseparable. Uncertainty itself is becoming a defining feature of our time. It is precisely in this context that our committee is not only relevant but essential. Dear colleagues, our work lies at the intersection of these transformations: trade and connectivity, geoeconomics and industrial policy, digital governance and AI, climate resilience and environmental security. These are no longer separate policy areas. They are interconnected pillars of stability or instability in our region. Before we begin, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our Vice Chair, Artur Gerasimov of Ukraine, who this year celebrates 10 years as a Vice Chair. Artur, congratulations. And our rapporteur, Paula Cardoza of Portugal, for their unwavering commitment and excellent cooperation throughout the past year. Our collective efforts have helped ensure that our committee remains at the forefront of discussions of emerging economic, environmental, and technological challenges. I would also like to commend the work of the relevant special representatives and ad hoc committees whose engagement has greatly enhanced the visibility and policy impact of a broad range of second dimension issues across the OECD region, including artificial intelligence, climate change, good governance, demographics, migration management, and education. This year's report and draft resolution, prepared by our rapporteur, Ms. Paula Cardoza of Portugal, focuses on water scarcity and transboundary cooperation, climate-induced migration, the clean energy transition, and the governance of artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies, while highlighting climate change as a threat multiplier and the need for resilient economies, healthy environments, and effective multilateral cooperation. I would like to warmly commend Ms. Cardoza for her excellent and timely work, which brings these complex and urgent issues together in a coherent framework and provides a strong basis for our discussion today. Dear friends, over the past year, I have been honored to serve as chair of our committee, working closer with all of you to further consolidate its role as a dynamic and forward-looking forum for parliamentary dialogue on the most pressing economic, environmental, and technological transformations affecting security in the OECD area and beyond. Through our reports, resolutions, parliamentary conferences, and field engagements, we have strived to promote cooperative dialogue on climate security, sustainable development, artificial intelligence, connectivity, anti-corruption, and economic governance. If you remember at the autumn meeting in Istanbul, during the session on strengthening rule-based global trade, safeguarding fairness, connectivity, and sustainable growth, we have underscored the open, fair, and rule-based trade supported by reliable connectivity and resilient infrastructure remains essential for stability and prosperity. Diversified and reliable trade, energy, digital links between Europe and the South Caucasus and Central Asia are becoming increasingly important for strengthening resilience and reducing geopolitical vulnerabilities. Building on these discussions, our winter meeting special debate on geoeconomics, technology, and security, navigating a changing landscape, underscored how strategic dependencies, competition over critical technologies and raw materials, and the rapid development of artificial intelligence are reshaping the international landscape and challenging existing models of cooperation and governance. Our work over the past year has also demonstrated the growing centrality of climate security and environmental resilience in the broader security architecture of our region. In April, our high-level participation in the Regional Ecological Summit in Astana, where we co-organized the Parliamentary Roundtable on Climate Action and Sustainable Development and met with the President of Kazakhstan and other key stakeholders. This engagement highlighted the vital role of parliamentarians in strengthening water governance and the sustainable management of shared water resources, promoting transboundary cooperation, innovation, and data sharing, and advancing joint action on climate adaptation and water security. Strategic engagement with the OECD's executive structures has remained a priority throughout the year, reflecting our shared commitments to closer alignment between parliamentary and intergovernmental efforts. Besides maintaining close coordination with Ambassador Bakir Yusupov, coordinator of OECD Economic and Environmental Activities, and with the Finnish and Swiss chairpersonships, I was honored to personally contribute to the 2025 OECD Economic and Environmental Dimension Implementing Meeting in Vienna, where I stressed the role of local communities in building resilience against natural and man-made disasters. These exchanges have reinforced our joint determination on advancing economic and environmental security across the OECD region. As we move forward, our committee will continue to serve as a leading platform for addressing both long-standing and emerging economic, environmental, and technological challenges. For instance, we plan to actively engage at COP31 in Antalya, present the policy outcomes of our annual session at the OECD Economic and Environmental Committee meeting in Vienna, and boost media and information literacy among youth through the School Dialogues initiative. At the same time, we will remain attentive to emerging developments, ensuring that we can respond promptly with timely and forward-looking political guidance. In conclusion, dear colleagues, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the staff of the International Secretariat supporting Second Dimension, especially my dear friend Marco Bonabella and Daria Boyarskaya, for their outstanding efforts, dedication, and unwavering professional support, which have been instrumental in the successful work of our committee. Thank you, dear colleagues. Dear colleagues, the committee is scheduled to have 4 meetings during this session. Our first task will be to debate the report by our rapporteur, Ms. Paula Cardoza, entitled International Law and Shared Principles, Foundations for Security and Cooperation in the OECD area. We will also consider amendments on her draft resolution. Time permitting, we will start this process today. Please ensure you have your voting cards ready. We have 10 amendments tabled to the draft resolution, which are available outside the room, on the documents table, and on the app. In addition, this committee has been tasked by the Standing Committee to debate and consider 4 supplementary items covering the following issues: keeping youth at the center, strengthen democracy, security, and human capital in the OECD region amid demographic change, proposed by Ms. Gudrun Kugler. Countering transnational financial repression and the weaponization of Interpol executive management, and cybersecurity, proposed by Mr. Mauro Del Barba. Advancing cooperation in the governance of artificial intelligence within the OECD region, proposed by Ms. Federica Honore. And first one is youth perspectives on affordable housing as a pillar of youth, peace, and security agenda in the OECD region, proposed by Ms. Lucia Thatcher-Perlin. So amendments are available in the usual way. We will consider the supplementary items when our main business on the draft resolution is concluded. Dear colleagues, may I remind that the election of committee officers for the next annual session of the Assembly will take place during the committee's final session, which is likely to take place on Tuesday, 7 July at 9 a.m. I have been asked to put before the committee a proposal by the Secretariat for a change to the deadline for candidate nominations. This is to allow sufficient time for the arrangements for the election to be made ahead of our meeting on Tuesday. The same proposal is being put to all general committees. Under Rule 36, paragraph 5, the Secretariat would like to ask the committee to agree that the deadline for nominations for the committee officers shall be 6 p.m. on Monday, 6 July. Are there any objections? It is not the case. I don't see any objections, so the proposal is agreed. Oh, dear colleagues, now I would like to welcome to the floor Ms. Paula Cardoza to present her report and draft resolution to this committee. It would assist me greatly if any member wishing to speak during the debate could enter his or her name in the register as early in the debate as possible. Now, Madam Cardoza, dear Paula, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Mr. President, dear colleagues. I would like to thank all the colleagues who over the past year have suggested topics and ideas for the document we are discussing today. The amendments they submitted to our committee resolution are valuable additions that will enrich this text and actively contribute to the Hague Declaration. Let me just highlight the main themes that I have been following and they are integrated in the report and the resolution. The OSCE and its future is obviously a matter of concern. We must ask ourselves what role the OSCE and its Parliamentary Assembly will play in the coming years. We must focus on renewing the OSCE while retaining the basic principles agreed in Helsinki. We must treasure the organization's comprehensive approach to security with the three original baskets as our core strategic asset. Field work is also essential and must be strengthened. Without this engagement on the ground, without contact with the people and their hardships, much of what the OSCE stands for today risks losing its meaning. The areas of institution building and inter-regional and cross-border cooperation ought to be priorities. While welcoming the adoption of the OSCE and file budget, this progress must be assessed in context. The new budget stands approximately 11% below the last approved budget of 2021. This represents as a severe erosion of capacity at precisely the moment when geopolitical demands on the OSCE are greatest. We should pursue a stronger, more united, and more ambitious OSCE. Only such an OSCE will be well positioned to play a prominent role in the post-conflict situation in Ukraine. We have an obligation and a duty to assist in rebuilding Ukraine, particularly its critical infrastructures. The destruction of dams, nuclear adjacent facilities, and widespread environment damage highlights the urgency of coordinated reconstruction. Our primary objective should be to support Ukraine's economic recovery and social stability, and ultimately to foster the success of its democracy and its integration into European structures. The consequences of conflict and instability are not confined to the OSCE area. The ongoing crisis in the Middle East has generated significant economic and environmental repercussions that extend well beyond the region, with direct implications for participating states. The widespread destruction of critical infrastructures, including oil facilities, combined with the blocking and disruption of key maritime routes, has triggered severe supply chain disruptions, sharp increase in energy price, and shortage of essential commodities. The OSCE has therefore a direct strategic interest in working urgently toward the cessation of hostilities and the stabilization of the Middle East. Left and unaddressed, the cascading consequence of this crisis risk tipping an already fragile global economy into recession, with severe repercussions for the living standards and security of citizens and business across the entire OSCE area. As discussed during our special debate at this year's winter meeting, geoeconomic rivalry and technological competition are increasingly shaping the security landscape in the OSCE region. Economic tools, including trade restrictions, export controls, investment screening, and energy leverage, are now widely used to advance strategic objectives. As a result, economic and security policies are becoming deeply intertwined. The gradual shift from cooperative economic integration toward a more competitive and fragmented environment is generating uncertainty and weakening trust in multilateral trade frameworks. Retaliatory measures risk slowing growth and disproportionately affecting smaller and highly interconnected economies. We need to reinforce a fair and rules-based trading system grounded in predictability, transparency, and non-discrimination. Participating states should refrain from the weaponization of trade and from unfair practice. On climate change, the past decade stands at as the hottest period ever recorded. Even as we speak, an unprecedented heat wave is sweeping across Europe, affecting many of our countries and causing significant hardship. Alarmingly, this is becoming our new normal. Unfortunately, the outcome of the last session of the Conference of the Parties, COP30, that took place in Brazil, left us with mixed feelings. On the one hand, regarding ending fossil fuel use and halting the deforestation, the final decision will include new voluntary initiatives to accelerate national climate action. This is clearly insufficient. On the other hand, a new call for action to triple finance for climate adaptation was adopted. Ultimately, COP30 ended with declarations of intent, few concrete measures, and insufficient targets. It is therefore imperative that we continue to steer our policies in two concentric directions: reducing dependence on fossil fuels and rapidly and progressively replacing them with clean and renewable energy sources. Forests are another area where declining biodiversity, fires, overexploitation, pollution have caused the environment and economic problems, degrading living conditions of local populations and causing economic losses that are difficult to recover from. Maintaining biodiversity also involves our seas and oceans. Participating states should take a leading role in defending the oceans, joining sound scientific recommendations and calls for various international organizations for a precautionary pause in underwater mining. Artificial intelligence, AI, and widespread dissemination of disinformation are areas of critical importance that should remain at the forefront of our concerns. The OSCPA Porto Declaration introduced several proposals that we must address. Institutionalizing efforts in AI governance through continuous dialogue, integration of AI public administration and decision-making process, prioritization of education reform, skills development, and access to innovation to prepare younger generations for a rapidly changing technological landscape. In short, AI must serve citizens and their needs by creating jobs, financing infrastructures, and expanding the frontiers of human knowledge. In parallel, our citizens must become responsible agents of the digital transformation of our society. Finally, I would like to address the challenges to governance and sustainable development. Weak auditory governance undermines sustainable economic development and social cohesion. The establishment of the OSCP Parliamentary Dialogue Platform on Youth, Peace and Security represents a significant step in the right direction. Ultimately, freedoms, whether political or economic, must be expanded. Only in this way can our societies grow in a healthy and sustainable manner as there is no real and sustainable development without democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Paula, for your excellent, even I would say, timely and meaningful presentation and also draft resolution. Dear colleagues, now floor is the debate open, and the time limit for each speech is 3 minutes. If you don't mind, I will keep this as it is now. If there are lots of members wishing to speak, I may reduce the time limit further to try to accommodate as many people as possible. So, I want to give the floor first to our Deputy Chair of the Committee, Mr. Artur Gerasimov of Ukraine. Dear Artur, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, dear Paula, dear colleagues, first of all, as Ukrainian, I want to say again and again, thank you very much for supporting Ukraine. Yes, this committee, for me, is the most important committee of the Assembly, because we're always on the edge. I still remember the times of Rosa Akhnazarova from Kyrgyzstan, where we really paid huge attention to the water issues in the Middle Asia. Nilsa Sena, she was, totally oriented to the Arctic issues, but not only. Sofia Katsarava from Georgia, Doris Barnett from Germany, it was a brilliant head of the committee, and exactly at that time during the COVID we found, and it was really very huge conversations here in the committee. We were the first who revealed together with the scientists that the air pollution is directly influencing the COVID-19 illness. Perry Pons was after Doris, and now, as I believe, who is really one of the most powerful chairs of the committees during the history of this committee. Also, I want to say, Paula, thank you very much that Ukraine is in focus of the report and in focus of our committee. Why? Because aggression of Russia to Ukraine touched everybody in Europe, First of all, food security, energy security, cyber security, refugees, disinformation, attempts to attack airports by drones, use of technologies against the civilian infrastructure. Also, pollution, because of the war, additional emissions were huge and are huge. And also ecology, because it's hardly influenced ecology. I just want you to remind just one case, Kakhovka explosion, Kakhovka dump explosion, when really the river and even Black Sea was hugely influenced by that. Also, I want to say, Paula, and also remind that this year is the 40 years of Chernobyl disaster. Huge nuclear disaster. I was 14 years old. I still remember how I was walking in streets in Kiev because Soviet Union didn't announce evacuation. And everybody, children, women, everybody received this, small level of illness because of the nuclear. And thank you very much. It's included into the report. Also, AI issues. I want to especially congratulate Federica Honori, our special rep on AI issues, for supplementary item, which was created together with the many committee members. And also, I want to say thank you for Paolo that AI issues hugely included into the main report of the committee. And also, last but not least, water issues, because we don't need to forget about water issues. This is not the question of the Middle Asia. Not only. Okay, this is the hot spot. We still remember the visits of Pere Pons, Gudrun Kudler, other members of our assembly to the Middle Asia with purpose to see Aral Sea catastrophe, to see the situation, but also it's related to the AI growing. And we need to keep an eye how AI growing will be used without huge influence on water shortage. This is a very important issue. We need to keep an eye on that. So thank you very much one more time. And let's work hugely with purpose to stay as the main committee in this assembly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Artur, for your intervention. I just want to also support the proposal or one idea you touched upon about the shrinking the level of the Caspian Sea and the Oral Sea. This issue has been also discussed largely in Kazakhstan. I just mentioned about that last April when we visited under the leadership of the President Pierre Pons. And it is really a big question. So I think I want to thank also our dear rapporteur, Paula, for mentioning this particular issue in her draft resolution. So, dear colleagues, our next speaker is Dr. Hague Fry from Canada, and she will be followed by Mr. Angelos Strigios from Greece. So, Dr. Hague Fry, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Colleagues, first of all, I want to congratulate Ms. Cardoso for her comprehensive and timely report touching on all the issues of security, economic, environmental, scientific, and technological changes that we are all facing. I also appreciate the attention she gave to emerging issues such as AI and in Ukraine's reconstruction, as well as environmental issues. As you noted, the current global context, we must ask ourselves, what role can the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly play in the coming years? You've asked us to adopt a bold vision, and I believe that this vision must be grounded in the achievement of gender equality. The benefits of gender equality are well established. Research demonstrates a clear link between higher levels of gender equality and stable environments and stable domestic and international security. Gender equality is not a secondary issue. It is a strategic imperative at the core of all three dimensions of the OSCE. In my capacity as Special Representative for Gender Issues, I want to expand on your report to highlight some areas where a gender perspective must be integrated. For example, in the context of Ukraine's reconstruction, let us look at the United Nations Resolution 1325, that in fact, if you're going to work to support Ukraine's economic recovery and social stability, women are playing a central role in Ukraine's economy. In 2024, 59% of new businesses were started by women, and in sectors ranging from retail to education to healthcare. And as you noted in your report, Ukraine's reconstruction will also require reintegrating displaced Ukrainians who have left and want to come back after Russia's war of aggression is over. 74% of refugees, therefore, are women and children. And this reintegration cannot take place without a strong gender component. And as you know, as I mentioned, United Nations Resolution 1325 said that women must play a strong role in creating peace and enduring conflict and in conflict reconstruction. So I would like to suggest that as you look at climate change as well and environmental degradation, it is found that actually we must remove structural barriers that women face in critical sectors in climate security, sectors such as energy, forestry, and water. And we must therefore offer capacity building programs and move employers to promote women in these areas so they can play a really strong role. And also in terms of climate negotiation, consultations and governance structures, we need to have women and youth very much engaged in these negotiations. So I wanted to suggest you cannot move the agenda unless you look at the fact that women make up over 50% of our populations. You cannot grow or create any stability without women involved because they are more than half the population. And so I firmly believe that we look at AI. If you are not going to put in a strong gender component to mitigate and prevent bias in AI, in fact, according to the United Nations Women, it suggests that AI already has a gender bias. And a study of 133 AI systems found that 44% demonstrated not only gender bias, but gender and racial bias. These are just a few examples, Ms. Cardoso, of how I believe that this report could be strengthened by improving gender and integrating gender as a strong component of everything you've discussed. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you very much, dear Hague Fry. I want to remind that Madame Hague Fry is also a special representative of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly for gender issue. So, our next speaker is Mr. Angelos Regis from Greece. He will be followed by Ms. Gudrun Kugler from Austria. Mr. Regis, you have the floor.
Dear President, esteemed colleagues, it is an honor to have been appointed as an OSCE PA Special Representative on Central Asia in September last year for a 2-year term. Allow me to share with you a few key takeaways from my activities and regional developments during the first year of my term. The OSCE is doing an excellent job in Central Asia in all 3 dimensions. It is present in all 5 countries. In addition, there is a border management staff college based in Dushanbe and an OSCE academy in Bishkek, both of which are centers of excellent and invaluable resources. I personally continued the tradition launched at the 2022 annual session by the then Special Representative Pia Kauma, which was diligently maintained by my immediate predecessor, Ms. Farah Karimi, to facilitate exchanges between the 5 Central Asian delegations on the sidelines of the OSCE-PA statutory meetings. The first coordination meeting, which I hosted, took place in Istanbul in last November. It was attended by parliamentarians from all 5 countries, as well as by President Pons, for whom engagement with Central Asia is one of the top priorities. I followed the topics identified by my predecessor: regional cooperation to address environmental challenges and to counter the impacts of climate change, water diplomacy, and new topics were included, like enhancing regional connectivity, trade and transportation links, fighting corruption, digitalization, and sustainable development. We continued our exchanges in Vienna on February. We met with the 5 delegations, and we had the opportunity to meet the 5 heads of permanent missions to the OSCE. They underlined that the resolution of the remaining border disputes in Central Asia has created a space for peace, integration, and stability. They also underlined the importance of fighting drug trafficking and illegal migration. And they mentioned the issue of Afghanistan, which continues to pose a threat to regional security, while each Central Asia state has adopted a different approach towards Afghanistan. The first year of my mandate as a special representative on Central Asia has been not only immensely informative, but also extremely rewarding, also on a personal level. I believe that the areas where we can continue working are water security and transboundary water cooperation, which offers a concrete area for further OSCE-PA engagement. We can also support interparliamentary exchange on environmental and climate legislation, and finally, youth engagement and environmental education, which are identified as important areas for further cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sigos, for your intervention. Now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Gudrun Kugler from Austria. She will be followed by Mr. Kazimierz Kleina from Poland. So, dear Gudrun, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I am very happy to see you doing this work here. I would like to congratulate the 3 leaders of this committee, you, Mr. Asai Guliev, as the chair, Artur Gerasimov as vice chair, and Paula Cardoso as rapporteur. I had the privilege of serving this committee as rapporteur for 3 years in a row. So I know how much work it is to do this, and I commend you as doing this in such great teamwork. I also would like to underline that the geographical balance that you represent, the three of you, is a very positive example of how in the PA we cooperate throughout the region. And so all three of you, of course, have my support to continue in this capacity. And I would also like to thank Marco Bonabello, who has been such a great staff and supporter from the side of the Secretariat of your work. And when we worked together, Marco, it was also, I just saw how great and deep and fruitful your work is. So congratulations. Now, I think you, Mr. Chair, have briefly said it, and I also believe that this is the most important committee, because our living realities and our living standards really depend on how we deal with issues of economy, of technology, of environment. And so very often we are a little bit in the shadow of developments, but in truth, this is the main bulk of what we do here in our cooperation for security of our region. I have the privilege of serving the Assembly now, and not only as a Vice President, but also as the Special Representative on Demographic Change and Security. And I would like to underline the changes that are coming because of demographic development. If we have across the region a birth rate of about 1.3, that means that with every generation we lose 1/3 of the people. Now that has incredible implications on our labor markets, on our consumer markets, on how to uphold our social systems, and all of this is key for security in the region. And it also produces a lot of lonely people, the younger generation for several reasons and the older generation for other reasons. So we see a big problem developing in our entire region. Only a few countries are accepted, but many or most of the countries are affected by this. So I'm glad that in this committee we can discuss these problems. I'm very grateful for widespread support for my supplementary item that we will be discussing here. I'm looking forward to our discussions. And as some of you might have seen, there is a side event I'm putting on the topic tomorrow, Monday at noon, with several people here in the committee to discuss the effects and how to possibly respond to it. So again, I thank you, Paula Cardoso, to be a rapporteur with a very wide and deep and balanced approach to these topics. And I'm looking forward to discussing and adopting your report and resolution.
Thank you very much, dear Gudrun, for your kind words. It was really our pleasure working together with you when you were the rapporteur of our committee. You have served, as you mentioned, 3 years in a row. And I remember very well how it was very meaningful and productive work. So I really appreciate your engagement. You also mentioned about the supplementary item that you put forward. As you know, I am one of the co-sponsors of that supplementary item, which I consider very important. Though I do believe that we will have a great chance and the time to discuss it. And also, I thank you for your support for us as a team to continue our work for upcoming years. So it is really appreciated, dear Gudrun. Thank you very much. Colleagues, now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Kazimierz Kleiner, Deputy Head of the delegation of Poland, and he will be followed by Ms. Hanna Lynchman of Ukraine. So, dear Kazimierz, you have the floor, please.
Dear Chairman, dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude of our host for their perfect organization and hospitality. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Ms. Paula Cardoso for preparing the report and the resolution. The report is comprehensive, thorough, and robust. Additionally, I will also share my own thoughts and insight on the matter. Today, the pursuit of the USCE fundamental objective continues to be affected by persistent challenges. The ongoing Russian aggression against Ukraine, as well as the other conflicts in the OSCE surroundings, not only undermine core principles of the organization set out in the Helsinki Final Act, but also give rise to a wide range of challenges in the international trade which call for robust action by the democratic community. One of the main challenges remains the instrumentalization of trade, technology, investment and raw material dependencies which are being used as tool of political economic pressure. To overcome the adverse effects of the phenomenon, states should lean towards coherent multilateral cooperation, diversification and the building of resilience alongside partners who share our values and market-oriented approach. Poland, as a member state of the European Union and one of the fastest growing economies in the European Union, has a vested interest in supporting fair trade and enhancing international economic security through strengthening competitiveness, improving the quality of the regulation, ensuring the stability of public finances, and creating conditions conducive to investment. Dear colleagues, parliaments of EEC participating states serve an important role in overseeing trade policies, promoting reforms within global institutions, and ensuring fairness, transparency, and accountability in economic governance. Let us remember that economic security is not a separate goal, but the very foundation of lasting peace and stability across the entire OSCE region. Dear Paula, you had work on this highly appreciated. I thank you for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kleine, for your intervention. Now I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Hanna Lynchman from Ukraine. She will be followed by Mr. Luc Berthold from Canada. Madam Lynchman, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Dear colleagues, I would like to express my gratitude to the authors of draft resolution for the thorough preparation of this document and their comprehensive approach to addressing these critical important issues. Also, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak and wish to draw your special attention for the following points. The world has reached a tipping point where our every decision carries more weight than ever before. We have no right, neither moral nor political, to ease the pressure of sanction of the Russian economy. As long as the enemy continues its blood expansion, any talk of sanction fatigue is a de facto capitulation of aggressor. Every dollar that enters the Russian budget through the energy resources is a bullet fired in Ukrainian child. Every euro earned by Russia by bypassing sanctions is a missile aimed at a peaceful city. Russia must pay, and the price must be unbearable. President Zelensky said, war is not needed by anyone, but for its stop, the aggressor must be economically bled dry. The large-scale crisis that has gripped continents is a direct consequences of past indecision. Half measures are not longer enough. We are not asking for just sanctions. We demand the total economic isolation of this terrorist state. Every source of war funding, from the gas exports to shadow schemes, must be cut off forever. Secondary sanctions must become an inevitable punishment for any states or companies that helps Russia avoid restrictions. We need more than just freeze. We need the political will to transfer all foreign assets of Russian Federation to Ukraine. But this is justice in action. What was accumulated for war must now work towards the restorations of life and strengthening of our defense, increasing supply of our defense system, expanding aid and providing financial support is an investment in our collective future and safety. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Lynchman, for your intervention. Now I'd like to give the floor to our colleague from Canada, Mr. Luc Berthold. He will be followed by Ms. Kirsten Bierich from Germany. Sorry for wrong pronunciation of your surname, if it's the case. But now, Mr. Berthold, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Vice-président, Madame la rapporteure. D'abord, je tiens à remercier Madame Cardozo pour la préparation de ce rapport détaillé. Comme le souligne le rapport, le monde, y compris la région de l'OSCE, est actuellement confronté à toute une série de défis économiques, environnementaux et technologiques, sans oublier, bien sûr, la guerre d'agression de la Russie sur l'Ukraine. Par conséquent, la collaboration multilatérale est de plus en plus instable et imprévisible. Dans ce contexte, je vais concentrer mes commentaires sur l'importance de l'économie locale dans un monde en pleine mutation et sur le caractère essentiel des relations avec des partenaires fiables. Les économies locales et régionales jouent un rôle important dans la création d'emplois, la qualité de vie, la durabilité environnementale et surtout la résilience des communautés. Elles ont aussi une portée mondiale. En tant que parlementaire, souvent élu à l'échelle locale, on est particulièrement bien placé pour apprécier le rôle des petites et moyennes entreprises dans nos économies locales. Selon le Forum économique mondial, les PME représentent 70 % de l'emploi et contribuent jusqu'à 70 % du produit intérieur brut mondial. Au Canada, les PME constituaient 98,8 % des entreprises faisant du commerce en 2021 et 45,9 % de la valeur des échanges commerciaux. Je soutiens donc pleinement l'assertion du rapport qu'il faut accorder une plus grande attention aux collectivités locales et aux municipalités qui jouent un rôle important dans la promotion de la coopération transfrontalière et le renforcement des liens entre les populations locales et régionales, particulièrement dans un contexte inflationniste, d'insécurité alimentaire grandissante et de coûts de plus en plus exorbitants pour se loger. Dans l'acte final d'Helsinki de 1975, les États participants de l'OSCE ont reconnu le rôle de la coopération dans les domaines du commerce, de l'industrie, de la science, de la technique, de l'environnement et dans d'autres secteurs de l'activité économique, dans le renforcement de la paix et de la sécurité autour du monde. Il y a 2 ans à Bucarest, l'AP-OSCE a adopté une résolution reconnaissant les effets positifs du commerce, de la connectivité et de l'intégration économique sur la paix et la stabilité dans l'ensemble de la région de l'OSCE. Aujourd'hui, je crois fortement que cela demeure le cas. Je soutiens l'assertion du rapport qu'il faut préserver les principes fondamentaux de l'acte final d'Helsinki de 1975, parmi lesquels figure la coopération entre les États. Si on veut réaffirmer un système commercial fondé sur les règles et reposant sur la prévisibilité, élargir et fortifier nos relations avec des partenaires fiables est plus important que jamais. Le Canada maintient actuellement 15 accords de libre-échange couvrant 51 pays, dont l'Ukraine. En tant que parlementaire, j'ai une profonde appréciation, notamment pour les relations commerciales que nous avons nouées avec nos partenaires des États-Unis. Les États-Unis, le premier partenaire commercial du Canada, est un marché essentiel représentant 14,54 % du PIB global, 8 % de l'exportation globale et 13 % de l'importation globale. En 2024, les États-Unis recevaient 76 % des exportations de marchandises du Canada. Pour le Québec, 73 % de la valeur totale des exportations de marchandises étaient destinées aux États-Unis. Les produits américains constituent la part la plus importante des marchandises étrangères qui entrent au Québec, entre 33 et 35 %. Collègues, dans un monde de plus en plus plein d'incertitudes, il est essentiel d'investir dans les relations avec des partenaires fiables et de ne pas oublier le rôle important que jouent les économies locales. Je vous remercie de votre attention, Monsieur le Président. Encore une fois, merci à la rapporteuse pour son excellent rapport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berthold, for your intervention. Now, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Kirsten Bierich from Germany, and she will be followed by Mr. Oleg Ruma from Belarus. Madam Bierich, please, you have the floor. Can you please put on the microphone? Thank you. Switch on. Doesn't work. Maybe use another one?
Whoops.
Oh, this is.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Brennan. Okay. Sorry. No, it should work now.
Now it
It's okay, no
Okay.
problem.
Try again. So, I speak in German. Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, wenn wir das Wort Ukraine hören, dann denken wir automatisch an den seit Jahren geführten Angriffskrieg gegen die Ukraine. Wir denken an das Leid, das durch diesen Krieg entstanden ist und daran, dass es so scheint, als würde der Krieg nicht enden. Wir denken auch an Soldatinnen und Soldaten und an Maschinen wie Drohnen und Panzer, deren Produktionsraten sich in den Jahren vervielfacht haben. Woran aber zu wenig gedacht wird, ist der Wiederaufbau. Die UN schätzt, dass mehr als 2,5 Millionen Wohnhäuser zerstört wurden. Doch neben dem steht ebenfalls die kritische Infrastruktur im Ziel von Russland. Mit gezielten Angriffen auf Umspannwerke, Stromwerke und Wasserkraftanlagen versucht der Angreifer, die ukrainische Moral zu erdrücken und die Verteidigungsfähigkeit des Landes zu zerstören. Diese Angriffe zielen damit auf das Rückgrat eines jeden Staates. Ohne eine zuverlässige Energieversorgung ist ein Staat immer in einer hohen Bedrohungssituation, die weit über die aktive Bedrohung durch russische Angriffe hinausgeht. Die Resilienz eines Staates wird daran gemessen, wie weit die Normalität der Bevölkerung bewahrt werden kann. Die Ukraine zeigt, dass sie sehr resilient ist, aber dennoch leiden gerade in den Wintermonaten alle unter der schwierigen Stromversorgung, die gerade dann für Heizung und medizinische Versorgung benötigt wird. Ich bin, so wie wir alle, fest davon überzeugt, dass die Ukraine ein unheimlich starkes Land ist, das in der Lage ist, auch die schwierigsten Zeiten zu überstehen. Nichtsdestotrotz können wir einen gezielten Beitrag leisten. Der Wiederaufbau der Ukraine ist vielfältig und muss in vielen Bereichen geschehen. Dabei können die ausländischen Hilfen sowohl punktuell bei den einzelnen Projekten als auch in ganzen Segmenten erfolgen. Für die Ukraine ist ein belastbares Stromnetz wichtig, eine standhafte medizinische Versorgung, geschützte Versorgungsrouten, andere geschlossene kritische Infrastrukturen und gesellschaftliche Zuversicht. Sie ermöglichen Stabilität und Planbarkeit, welche wiederum zu einem Aufwuchs der Wirtschaft führt, wodurch es der Ukraine von innen nach außen gelingen wird, sich wieder aufzubauen. Nutzen wir also die Möglichkeit, die Ukraine in den kommenden Jahren nicht nur militärisch-finanziell zu unterstützen, sondern auch den Fokus direkt auf die Wirtschaft und Institutionen zu lenken, damit ein nachhaltiges Aufwachsen der Ukraine garantiert werden kann. Haben Sie vielen Dank.
Thank you very much, Madam Virich, for your intervention. Before giving the floor to Mr. Olaruma, I would like to announce that the speaker list is closed. So we will continue with the current list of speakers. So Mr. Oleg Rumo, you have a floor. Mr. Oleg Rumo will be followed by Ms. Maya Bitadze from Georgia. So, dear Ruma, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель, коллеги. Экономическая и экологическая безопасность традиционно относятся к числу тех направлений деятельности ОБСЕ, где государства способны находить точки соприкосновения даже в период серьезных политических разногласий. К сожалению, сегодня потенциал второго измерения ОБСЕ используется далеко не в полной мере. Вместо объединения усилий для решения общих задач мы чаще сталкиваемся с искусственными ограничениями. Беларусь убеждена, что устойчивое экономическое развитие невозможно обеспечить в условиях фрагментации рынков, разрушения логистических связей и применения односторонних ограничительных мер. Санкции и экономическое давление не создают дополнительную безопасность. Напротив, они способствуют росту издержек, сокращению возможностей для сотрудничества и формированию новых разделительных линий на пространстве ОБСЕ. Особенно наглядно последствия подобных подходов проявляются в сфере транспорта и торговли. Беларусь последовательно выступает за укрепление транспортной и логистической взаимосвязанности, развитие международных транспортных коридоров и устранение искусственных барьеров для движения товаров и услуг. Не менее актуальными остаются вопросы продовольственной безопасности. Наша страна, как один из значимых производителей сельскохозяйственной продукции и минеральных удобрений, готова и далее вносить вклад в укрепление глобальной продовольственной безопасности. Особого внимания требует экологическая повестка. Мы убеждены, что экологические вопросы не должны становиться заложниками политической конъюнктуры. Напротив, им следует оставаться пространством для профессионального взаимодействия и совместного поиска решений. Любые ограничения, препятствующие научному обмену, реализации природоохранных программ и доступу к современным экологическим технологиям объективно ослабляют коллективные возможности реагирования на общие вызовы. Считаем важным активнее задействовать площадку ОБСЕ для обсуждения практических вопросов экономического и экологического сотрудничества, продвижения инноваций, цифровой трансформации, развития науки и технологий и укрепления устойчивой критической инфраструктуры. Сегодня государствам-участникам особенно важно сосредоточиться на восстановлении доверия через совместные проекты и взаимовыгодное сотрудничество. Экономика, наука и экология способны стать теми сферами, где возможно постепенное восстановление культуры диалога и взаимодействия. Беларусь готова к такой работе и выступает за формирование пространства равноправного сотрудничества, основанного на уважении суверенного выбора государств, взаимной выгоде и учета интересов всех участников. Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Ruma, for your intervention. And our next speaker is Ms. Maya Bitadze from Georgia, and she will be followed by Mr. Nikola Michevsky from North Macedonia. Madam Bitadze, please, you have the floor.
Distinguished Chair, dear colleagues, it's an honor to address this committee at a time when economic security, energy resilience, and climate action have become inseparable from peace and security. Across the OSCE region, we face unprecedented challenges. Russia's ongoing war of aggression against Ukraine, continued occupation of 20% of Georgia's sovereign territory, instability in the Middle East, the accelerating impacts of climate change and gradual erosion of respect for international law. This crisis demands greater international solidarity and practical cooperation rather than division. In this context, Georgia remains committed to contributing to Europe's economic and energy security. Ongoing to its strategic location, Georgia has become a reliable bridge between Europe, the South Caucasus, and the Caspian region, strengthening connectivity through the Middle Corridor and facilitating secure trade and energy routes. Projects such as the Black Sea submarine cable and the Green Energy Corridor are not merely infrastructure initiatives. They respect strategic investment in Europe's long-term energy diversification, resilience, and sustainable economic growth. Climate resilience, however, can't be achieved without political stability, trust, and respect for international commitments. It is therefore deeply regrettable that at a time when our common attention should be focused on addressing these global and regional challenges, some political actors and bureaucratic circles continue to devote their efforts to deepening political polarization in Georgia, exerting pressure on its democratically elected government, and most importantly, failing to respect the sovereign democratic choice of Georgian people. Such approaches do not strengthen democracy or international cooperation. On the contrary, they undermine the confidence in international institutions, including the OSCE, and they risk fostering skepticism and nihilism among Georgian citizens toward organizations whose mission is to promote dialogue, mutual respect, and equal partnership. Georgia remains a constructive, reliable, and responsible partner. We will continue contributing to regional connectivity, sustainable development, and Europe's economic resilience. At the same time, we firmly believe that genuine partnership must be based on respect for sovereignty, equal treatment of participating states, and unwavering respect for the democratic choices of every nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Bitadze. Now, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Michevsky from North Macedonia. He will be followed by Mr. Slangmulder from Belgium. Mr. Michevsky, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Reporter, dear colleagues, allow me at the beginning to thank to our reporter, Ms. Paula Cordozo, for the comprehensive report and well-balanced draft resolution. I associate myself fully with the report's central diagnosis that the economic resilience, environmental sustainability, technological innovation, and respect for international law are inseparable components of comprehensive security of the OSCE area. Let me start where the report starts with Ukraine. My country strongly condemns the Russian Federation's war of aggression and support every call in the resolution for accountability, reparation, and a sustainable OSCE role in the reconstruction. As a small, open, landlocked economy, my country understands particularly well the importance of regional cooperation, open trade, and connectivity. Our prosperity depends entirely on a predictable, rules-based trading system. In recent years, we have invested significantly in improving transport and energy connectivity with neighboring countries and the wider European market. Through regional initiatives, we have worked to facilitate trade, reduce barriers, and strengthen economic cooperation. At the same time, we are aware of the growing challenges posed by the climate change. For this reason, we have aligned our policies with European climate objectives, and we are advancing the green transitions. Significant investment are being made in the renewable energy productions, particularly solar and wind energy. My country has committed to phase out of coal, which is a very ambitious goal for our country, where lignite once supplied a third out of our electricity. On the site of the former open pit coal mine at Oslomey, we have built 120 megawatt solar park, a former symbol of the old energy economy, now powering the new one. Ladies and gentlemen, the reports also draw attention to the opportunities and risks associated with the artificial intelligence and digital transformation. In my country, we recognize the transformative potential of emerging technologies for economic growth, education, and public administration. At the same time, we agree that innovation must be accompanied with appropriate safeguards, transparency, and demographic oversight. The country is actively pursuing digitalization reforms, expanding digital public services, and supporting the development of digital skills among young people. We fully support the resolutions call for risk-based, human-centric AI governance and for a stronger protection of minors online. Like many countries in our region, we are exposed to disinformation that exploits ethnic and political lines. We are therefore particularly very welcome to the OSCE school dialogues on the preventing radicalization to violent extremism mentioned in the report. On governance and demography, the report is right to link corruption, weak institutions, and demography decline to the long-term economic instability. My country faces the same demographic pressure as much in our region. Immigration of skilled young people and aging population in a hosting market increasingly out of reach for the young. We see anti-corruption reforms, judicial independence, and EU-aligned governments not as external conditions imposed upon us, but as essential efforts for economic development for the maintaining citizen confidence in democratic institutions. Madam Reporter, Mr. Chair, my delegation supports the draft resolution and welcomes its comprehensive approach. Only through the shared principles and collective action can we build a more secure, resilient, and prosperous OSCE region for the future generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Nicola, for your intervention. And now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Slagmelder. He will be followed by Mr. Turagenjeriev from Azerbaijan. So, Mr. Slagmelder from Belgium, you have the floor. He is not here? No. If not, we continue with Mr. Turagenjeriev, and he will be followed by Ms. Abrama from Latvia. Mr. Genjeriev, please, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs les parlementaires. Pendant de nombreuses années, l'Azerbaïdjan n'a été perçu qu'à travers le prisme des énergies traditionnelles. Pourtant, l'histoire de mon pays aujourd'hui dépasse largement celle des hydrocarbures. c'est avant tout une histoire de transformation, de résilience et d'investissement responsable. Il y a un peu plus de 30 ans, à la suite de l'affrontement de l'Union soviétique, l'Azerbaïdjan traversait une profonde crise économique. Nous étions contraints d'importer aussi bien l'électricité que le gaz naturel afin de répondre à nos besoins les plus élémentaires. Aujourd'hui, l'Azerbaïdjan est devenu un acteur fiable de la sécurité énergétique de l'Europe et un partenaire de plus en plus important dans la transition vers une énergie propre. Cette transformation offre un enseignement précieux pour l'ensemble de l'espace de l'OSCE. Le débat ne devrait plus porter sur le fait qu'un pays possède ou non des ressources naturelles. La véritable question est de savoir comment ces ressources sont utilisées. L'Azerbaïdjan a investi les revenus de son secteur énergétique dans les infrastructures modernes, l'éducation, les réseaux de transport et les énergies renouvelables. Les ressources naturelles doivent être mises au service du développement durable et de l'amélioration des conditions de vie des populations. Aujourd'hui, l'Azerbaïdjan exporte du gaz naturel vers 16 pays, dont 10 États membres de l'Union européenne. Parallèlement, nous investissons massivement dans les énergies renouvelables et développons le corridor vert de la mer Noire qui permettra d'acheminer de l'électricité verte produite dans la région de la mer Caspienne vers l'Europe. Notre objectif est clair, demeurer un partenaire énergétique fiable tout en devenant un fournisseur majeur d'énergie verte. Mesdames et messieurs les parlementaires, la sécurité énergétique et la connectivité des transports sont indissociables de la stabilité régionale. Le corridor du milieu s'impose progressivement comme l'un des principaux axes de transport de l'Eurasie, reliant l'Est avec l'Ouest. Des projets tels que Corridor TRIP ont le potentiel non seulement de faciliter les échanges commerciaux, mais aussi de renforcer la coopération régionale, de consolider la confiance mutuelle et de favoriser une paix durable grâce à l'interdépendance économique. Les infrastructures ne doivent pas diviser les nations, elles doivent les rapprocher. Autrefois dépendant des investissements étrangers, l'Azerbaïdjan est désormais devenu un investisseur à part entière, développant ses activités à l'international tout en investissant dans les technologies renouvelables et en contribuant activement à la transition énergétique mondiale. Alors que l'OSCE poursuit ses efforts pour relever les défis liés à la sécurité, au développement durable et à la coopération économique, l'Azerbaïdjan demeure prêt à apporter sa contribution en tant que partenaire fiable en bâtissant des ponts entre les régions, entre les marchés et entre les réalités énergétiques d'aujourd'hui et l'avenir de l'énergie verte. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ganjariya, for your intervention. And now I give the floor to Madam Abrama from Latvia. She will be followed by Mr. Hattem from Netherlands. So, Madam Abrama, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude to Ms. Paula Cardilba and the team for the comprehensive, excellent report. And there are very many significant issues, topics disclosed. However, I'm very satisfied that the main focus is on Ukraine, and I would like to speak about that too today. Dear colleagues, one is clear, we must be deeply concerned that Russia is rapidly expanding its military industrial complex to sustain its ongoing aggressive invasion in Ukraine. In order to replace unprecedented equipment losses and to shift the national economy to a permanent war footing, it's really very worrying. The Russian defense sector boom has fundamentally transformed the country's economy. Russia's military spending is increasing, and shifting to a war economy functions as a major state-directed stimulus, funneling vast budgets into specialized regions and making military production one of the primary drivers of domestic industrial output. By revamping domestic plants, Russia is replacing reliance on Western parts and components with local manufacturing and increased cooperation with China, ensuring that its armed forces can rearm independent of external sanctions. It's about our sanctions policy, but however, sanctions are and will be still necessary. Moreover, we also have to keep in mind this mobilization of all resources also allows Moscow to retool for long-term geopolitical confrontation. It's a long-term geopolitical strategy of Russia to project strength globally and challenge NATO. Dear colleagues, to counter Russia subordinating its industry to war needs, we in Europe, in OECD area, must much more accelerate our own defense industrial production, to do it more targeted than it has been before, much more tightened enforcement of export controls on dual-use technology, and protect critical infrastructure against Russian hybrid operations. And we have to do it all together because one alone is not fighter. We must cooperate more targeted than it's now. Only together we can be economically strong enough to counter, to fight the aggressor, and stand up for peace. Stand up for peace in Europe and in Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Abrama, for your intervention. And now I give the floor to Mr. Hattem from Netherlands. He will be followed by Ms. Tanguy from France. Mr. Hattem, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks to Ms. Cardoso for the draft resolution. But I would strongly oppose the first part of conclusion number 20 on migration. Quote, recognizing migration as an enduring and potentially beneficial component of socio-economic development, unquote. We use less migration and even remigration, especially remigration of people who commit serious crimes in our already overcrowded countries. Due to mass migration, there are not enough houses for our own people, and many migrants still live on state welfare even after decades. Many migrants are overrepresented in crime, often serious crimes like rapes, murder, and violence. That's not a beneficial component of socio-economic development. I also oppose the conclusions 22 to 27 and 32 about climate change. Energy security should be our purpose, not the 1.5 degree objective. We should not destroy our economies for so-called human-made climate change. We should withdraw from international climate agreements like the Agreement of Paris and the hypocrisy of politicians flying with private jets to COP meetings. Our electricity networks are collapsing on net congestion due to unstable wind energy and solar. We don't need net zero or leaving fossil energy, but focus on affordable, modern nuclear energy, especially thorium. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hattem, for your intervention. Our next speaker is Ms. Tanguy from France. She will be followed by Mr. Nodir Jumayev from Uzbekistan. Madame Tanguy, please, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'océan constitue le fondement de la vie sur Terre. C'est ce que rappelait l'Organisation des Nations Unies dans son évaluation mondiale de l'océan publiée le 5 juin 2026. Ce rapport, fruit des travaux de 550 experts issus de 86 pays, dresse un constat alarmant: dégradation accélérée des écosystèmes marins, aggravation de la pollution, élévation du niveau des mers, etc. Je vous remercie, Madame la rapporteure, d'avoir mis en avant l'absolue nécessité de la préservation de la biodiversité dans nos mers et océans. Étant députée de Bretagne, dans une circonscription maritime du Finistère, je suis très préoccupée par la montée des eaux et du recul du trait de côte qui affecte les zones côtières et menace le bon fonctionnement des écosystèmes côtiers et marins, essentiels pour nos économies et nos emplois locaux, fortement dépendants de la pêche, de la construction navale et autres activités maritimes. Parallèlement à ces défis environnementaux, les océans demeurent des espaces de rivalité et de projection de puissance où les États défendent leurs intérêts économiques, sécuritaires et territoriaux comme en témoignent les tensions récurrentes dans des zones stratégiques telles que le détroit d'Ormuz, la mer de Chine méridionale ou la Méditerranée. Or, cette réalité géopolitique entre en tension avec la logique de coopération qui inspire une large part du droit international de la mer, depuis la Convention de Montego Bay jusqu'aux accords régionaux de protection des écosystèmes. Dans ce contexte, quel rôle notre Assemblée peut-elle jouer en matière de diplomatie des océans, entendue comme l'ensemble des négociations, accords et initiatives diplomatiques relatifs à la gestion, à la protection et à l'exploitation des espaces maritimes? Le droit international a progressivement structuré les espaces maritimes et la France, disposant du deuxième espace maritime au monde, y a pris une large part, notamment en accueillant la 3e conférence des Nations Unies sur l'océan l'année dernière à Nice et en adoptant le moratoire sur l'exploitation minière en eau profonde. Le droit international doit permettre d'assurer un futur durable pour nos océans afin de répondre aux enjeux croissants d'utilisation, d'exploitation et de gouvernance des espaces maritimes. Nous, Assemblée parlementaire de l'OSCE, devons y contribuer en recherchant une voie commune et devenir un acteur central de la diplomatie des océans, confronté aux logiques concurrentielles des grandes puissances. Cela passe par la participation de l'OSCE dans l'élaboration de programmes spécifiques dans le cadre du pacte pour la Méditerranée, comme il est indiqué dans le rapport, mais je me permets de suggérer aussi de participer au pacte pour l'océan de l'Union européenne et de nous emparer de ce sujet dans nos parlements nationaux, comme nous allons le faire à l'Assemblée nationale française à travers un rapport sur la diplomatie des océans. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Madam Tengi, for your intervention. And now I would like to call Mr. Nadir Jumayev from Uzbekistan to take the floor. And he will be followed by our last but not least speaker, Mr. Michele Muratori from San Marino. So, dear Nadir, please, you have the floor.
Dear Chair, honorable members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor inform about ongoing reforms in Uzbekistan and discuss to build cooperation and partnership where we benefit mutually. In recent years, Uzbekistan has changed deeply. We have opened our economy, we have reformed our laws, and we have placed our people as the center of economic and social reforms. We have built close economic ties with our neighbors. The leaders of Central Asia meet regularly to solve regional challenges. Last year, we signed a new partnership agreement with the European Union, opening a new chapter in our friendship. We value our friendship with Europe so highly. We share the same goals: peace, prosperity, and progress for our people. In 2025, Uzbekistan continued to implement large-scale reforms aimed to strengthen economic resilience, expanding market relations, improving the welfare of our people, and deepening international ties, including with United Europe. In 2025, GDP exceeded for $147 billion for the first time, reflecting steady economic growth. Exports grew by 24%, while gold and foreign currency reserves exceeded more than $70 billion for the first time. The volume of foreign investment amounted to $43 billion, equal to 32% of gross domestic production of Uzbekistan. We recognize that sustainable economic growth and advancement of science and the adoption of technological innovation occur through cooperation with international partners. In order to strengthen cooperation among OSCE participating states, we propose a parliamentary format for exchanging experience in technology and digital transformation, including joint working groups on the development of the digital economy, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and e-governance, joint initiatives to sustainable development and green energy that foster the exchange of advanced technologies and help attract investment into innovative environmental projects. Uzbekistan is firmly committed to strengthening dialogues and practical cooperation across the OSCE area, confident that joint efforts in economics, science, and technology are an essential component of sustainable security and prosperity for all participating states. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jumayev, for your intervention. And now I like to give the floor to Mr. Michele Muratori from San Marino. As I said, that last, not but least, intervention, we will conclude our debate. So, dear Michele, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, dear Zai. I would like to speak in Italian. Onorevole Presidente, illustri colleghi, il valore della seconda commissione dell'OSCE risiede storicamente nella sua capacità di guardare oltre le emergenze immediate per gettare le fondamenta economiche, commerciali e ambientali della stabilità futura. Tuttavia oggi siamo chiamati a svolgere questo delicato mandato in un contesto globale di straordinaria e dolorosa fragilità. I fatti storici recenti ci dimostrano con drammatica chiarezza che il benessere dei mercati, lo sviluppo e la cooperazione non possono prescindere da una condizione fondamentale come la pace. Non può esistere alcuna sicurezza economica duratura tra le macerie e la distruzione di un conflitto. Il nostro primo e più importante pensiero deve andare alle popolazioni civili che in questo preciso momento stanno soffrendo. Dietro i dati macroeconomici di cui discutiamo, dietro le stime dei danni strutturali, dei bilanci statali, ci sono milioni di famiglie private dei diritti e della dignità più elementari. Parliamo dell'accesso quotidiano all'acqua pulita, dell'elettricità per riscaldarsi, di cure mediche tempestive e della possibilità di un lavoro sicuro. Proteggere queste vite vulnerabili e restituire loro una speranza di normalità deve essere il vero motore di ogni nostra decisione finanziaria e politica. L'aggressione militare contro l'Ucraina continua a rappresentare una ferita profonda e aperta nel cuore della nostra regione. La distruzione sistematica delle reti civili ed elettriche e l'ecocidio in corso nei territori colpiti minano direttamente la sicurezza alimentare, energetica e climatica di tutti i nostri paesi. Coordinare i piani internazionali per la ricostruzione economica di Kiev e la bonifica ambientale dei terreni è un dovere multilaterale imprescindibile, un atto di solidarietà concreta per ridare un futuro e una terra vivibile alla popolazione ucraina. Ma con la stessa profonda empatia e preoccupazione la nostra bussola multilaterale deve guardare alla catastrofe in corso in Palestina e in particolare nella striscia di Gaza. Il collasso economico assoluto, la distruzione totale delle infrastrutture vitali, l'emergenza sanitaria nei territori palestinesi costituiscono una tragedia umana immane. E questo scenario richiede un impegno straordinario e coordinato della comunità internazionale per il ripristino immediato dei servizi di base, per alleviare le sofferenze dei civili e stabilizzare l'intero bacino del Mediterraneo, un quadrante geopolitico che rimane vitale per la sicurezza di tutti i membri di questa organizzazione. Sia in Ucraina che in Palestina la tutela della dignità umana, la salvaguardia dell'ambiente, la ricostruzione dei sistemi economici locali sono le uniche vie possibili per gettare i semi di una pace vera e duratura. E la gestione e la protezione delle risorse primarie come l'acqua, l'energia devono tornare a essere strumenti di unione, cooperazione tra i popoli e mai più armi di pressione geopolitica. Esorto questa Commissione a promuovere azioni concrete, tempestive di cooperazione economica e di assistenza. Riaffermiamo con i fatti lo spirito multilaterale che ci unisce per garantire alle prossime generazioni un futuro di reale prosperità e di vera sicurezza comune. Grazie.
Thank you very much, dear Michele, for your speech. So I also would like to thank all of you, dear colleagues, who took the possibility to make some intervention and the proposal. I really appreciate your great ideas, your proposal. And I think that this is a time now to give the floor to our rapporteur. Dear Paul, you have the floor. I hope that you will have some comment on the questions or on the idea or comments that were made by our colleagues, and maybe take your time for 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to thank everybody for the contributions, ideas, and all the matters you have colloqued to me, and it's important. I must say to Heidi Fry from Canada that I will be attentive to the gender equality. We have a great issue for next year because we must look carefully to this issue what concerns to the masculinization of social media. The algorithm is formatted in a way that disseminates male prevalence, and we must look at it carefully and make some appointments and make some pay attention to that matters. The other ones, I appreciate you have enjoyed the report. I want to say to the Netherlands that I refuse to see immigrants as a potential criminals or people are not recommended in the country they choose to live. I think they're mostly people looking for a better life for themselves and their children. And they have my country is immigrant people. We have 5 million people around the world. We are the most important community. We are more than 50% of the Luxembourg community. And I think we built a great country. And in Luxembourg, the Portuguese have done a great job. And they are immigrants in Luxembourg, as you know. But I must remember you that the most awful attempts that we have shown in Europe are not made by immigrants. There are names. One of them is Norway, Andreas Lubitz. They killed 77 people in an island, young people who are in a meeting of youth. And the other one is Andreas Breivik and Andreas Lubitz. One is Norway and one is German. One of them ran the plane against the mountain and they killed 150 people, innocent people. And the other one killed 77. They are not immigrants. They are Europeans just like me and you. Let's look at the things. A criminal guy is awful and it's condemnable, whatever she is, an immigrant or a native. It's, for me, a criminal is a criminal. It's not for being an immigrant that is a criminal. And as far as I know, there's not a correspondence between the two things. That's my opinion. You have yours. I respect. But facts are facts. And if you show me numbers of what you're saying is the right thing, if all the immigrants and most of all are criminal people, I don't think so. I don't think the numbers confirm that, and the reports don't say that. So I will consider your opinion, of course, and I respect him, but I don't agree with your opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Paulo. Thank you. This is a democracy, so everyone may have his or her own position and opinion, but this is something that we have to take into consideration, that how the rapporteur sees the issue or the proposal made by our colleagues. But I think, dear Paulo, it was really very productive and fruitful discussions. Thank you very much again, all who took the time and, of course, contribute to our today's debate. Dear colleagues, according to our schedule, we have to close today's session, today's meeting. And of course, tomorrow at 9 a.m., we will continue with consideration of the amendments to the draft resolution. As I already mentioned, we have 10 amendments. I think we can start tomorrow at 9 a.m. from this room. And again, thank you very much, and see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.